Hello, welcome back to the channel. I did start a site or a store called Joe Gear that will have some car affiliated type shirts on it and eventually some other styles that I may put into effect. So I will put a link down in the description for that. Today's story will be obviously another story to Darien Lake because there are so many of those. As you can see, the weather is starting to get pretty nasty here on the way home. But so anyway, there was a trip to Darien Lake. My parents were driving out with my two parents and my little sister in an '83 Plymouth Reliant K car, 2.2 4-cylinder, little automatic. And I was driving out separately. I think I was maybe 16 or 17 at the time. I had a 1978 Chevy Chevette, little 4-cylinder automatic car that I had picked up. Somebody my mother had worked with had the Chevette, and they had bought a Mustang, like an '83 Mustang with a 4 or 6-cylinder in it, nothing special. And told my mother, if your son comes up and puts brakes on the front of my Mustang, you guys can have the Chevette. It ran. Sure as heck wasn't pretty. The thing had more rust on it than I think it had body panels. And it was dark green with a putrid green interior. Little 4-door, vinyl seat, vinyl bucket seats. But hey, it ran. I drove the heck out of that thing for a few months. Everything we had didn't last very long at all, it seemed. So we headed to Darien Lake, and that car was me and the girl I was dating at the time and one of my older brothers. My car had no problems, made it all the way to Darien Lake and back with a noisy exhaust. You could barely hear yourselves in the car, and a fuel tank that leaked. We were able to put about $5 in gas in at a time, which back then got you about close to 5 gallons of gas. Lightning, yay! And I don't know, I'd get close to 100 miles out of a full tank of gas, or out of it 5 gallons of gas before I had to stop and get gas again. So we did not take the thruway. We did take back roads. We took 104 most of the way from where we lived out near the Oswego out to Darien Lake. So my parents said met us there. K car on the way. The floor on the K car was pretty well rotted out, and the tunnel where the exhaust ran was rusted away, and the carpet had fallen down while they were driving. It was touching the catalytic converter and actually started to smoke. They had to get some bottles of water to pour it all over the carpet to keep the car from going up in flames. But that was just how we rolled. My father bought that car for next to nothing. It ran great, but somebody had put a bunch of tires in the back seat. I don't know if they're winter tires or what they were, but they're on rims, and it sat in the summer. It got really hot, and one of those tires, I don't know, I guess the tires expanded and pushed out against the back window and blew the back window out of the car. There was one other time I was driving the car. Like I said, the floor was rotted. Really all was there was carpet. Me, different girl I was dating, and my niece, who was in the back seat, and it was raining out like this, and we came down the road. There was a spot where it was just puddled right across the road, so we hit it real fast. And when we did, the water blasted up on the inside of the car so bad it soaked my niece, and this was like in January, so it was freezing out. I have water all over the inside of the windshield, and yeah, it was just a mess. she wasn't happy. She was very wet. She was young at the time. She was only like 8 years old. So there was that. I remember taking that car. There was a set of railroad tracks in the city of Oswego where if you came from one direction, you could kind of pretty much launch yourself off of them, which was a lot of fun. But yeah, so I eventually got a different vehicle, stopped driving the Chevette, and we put it out back behind my parents' house, like I said, where we had 10 acres of land, and actually we had 12 acres. And we had a half-mile track that previous owners of the property had quarter horses, and I used it for lot cars, which was always a lot of fun. But the car was sitting out there, so the one girl I was dating, when I was driving that, her sister had an 80 Chevette, and her lower ball joint went bad, and we ended up cutting the lower control arm to get the ball joint out of mine, so we could put it in hers, so she had a vehicle to drive. All the things you do when you're young. But yeah, so there's another well, we did actually, that was a successful trip to Darien Lake because both cars made it there and made it back without having to be towed, pushed, or repaired. But there was issues, as we always had. Alright, please like, share, follow. If you like this, tell your friends. If you don't, tell your friends. And we'll see you in the next one. And again, please check the link out for my Teespring store down in the description. My store is Joe Gear. Currently have 4 shirts on there. I'm having some more designs made up right now. Hopefully to have 10 or 12 on there shortly. Thank you. Bye.